Welcome to TEPSA Talk, the podcast where leaders inspire, share, and grow together. TEPSA is dedicated to celebrating the incredible work happening in education. Each episode, we dive into meaningful conversations with leaders, change-makers, and innovators who are shaping the future of our schools. Whether you're looking for fresh ideas, encouragement, or a little spark to fuel your passion, TEPSA Talk is here for you. Imagine tuning in to hear how leaders are revolutionizing their schools, tackling challenges head-on, and fostering a culture of collaboration. Grab a coffee, hit play, and let's grow together. Welcome to TEPSA Talk.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of our TEPSA Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Todd Nesloni, the Director of Culture and Strategic Leadership here at the Texas Elementary Principals and Supervisors Association. We are thrilled to have this week's guest on, my friend Andrew Marotta. Andrew, I'm so excited you're here. For those who don't know you and the work that you do, give us a little intro.
Yeah, awesome. Number one, Todd, super thrilled to be here with you. TEPSA, the work you're doing. I am Andrew Marotta, surviving and thriving, 20-year school leader in Port Jervis Schools, New York, hour and a half northwest of New York City. Proud to be there, proud to serve there. And like many of you watching or listening to the podcast, doing the best we can in our school districts, right? Trying to be authentic, trying to be energizing leaders. I've been an assistant principal there, principal of the middle school, principal of the high school, and now I'm the director of communications and academic services there, doing all our social media, doing all our positive promotion. A lot of the stuff I was doing in my personal life, now I get to do for the district. So it's awesome.
I love it. And for those of you listening, in case you didn't know, we also have Andrew coming all the way down to Texas for our TEPSA Summer Conference. He's going to be leading a masterclass, and we're going to be talking about some of those things here today. So if you haven't signed up for a masterclass yet, go and sign up. Andrew's is not going to be the one that you want to miss. So go and sign up for Andrew's. And if you've already registered, don't worry. Give us a call, send us an email. We can add on a masterclass to your registration. But let's dive into the topic today, Andrew. We wanted to kind of talk about what you're kind of talking about in the masterclass, but also something you specialize in all the speaking that you do, the books that you've written, and all those kind of things. And that is creating these systems that we can have and these strategies that we can put into place to really thrive as administrators and leaders. And so talk to me a little bit about when this became something that was really important to you, that you started developing all of this around.
Yeah, great question, Todd. And again, I know you have young kids. As we grow in our leadership, as we continue to advance and year after year, we have children in our lives. We get more responsibility in our jobs. So as my children came in my life and as my responsibilities outside of school began to grow, I said, hey, we got to get some things in place here. What are the things I need to take care of in school? And then what are the things I need to take care of in my personal life? Where one impacted the other, right? If I'm getting creamed at school, if I'm getting overrun at school, now I'm dragging maybe in my personal life and vice versa. So setting up systems and strategies at school to be organized, setting up systems and strategies outside of school, because no matter how much you try to separate them, Todd, you know this, they blend into each other. And one affects the other. I like to say one affects the other in a positive way. But if you don't put things in place, they certainly can hurt there. So I would say as my children became in my life, I really began to focus on those systems and strategies.
Yeah, and I love that you say that, because we talk about this so much when it comes to any job in education, but especially when we move into those leadership positions, about what you are doing at work is affecting what you do when you go home. Whether you're going home to a family or going home to friends or anything like that, you need to have some systems and strategies in place, because they're going to affect each other both ways. And so as you started looking into this and started putting some things in place, what were some systems or some strategies that you really started utilizing that made a big difference for you right away?
Yeah, first off the bat is time, Todd. You and I are here recording this today. It's a non-school day, right? We're carving out time with our families. Sorry, took a sip there. So it's people. It's a pet peeve of mine when they say, I don't have the time, right? I don't have the time. We all have the same amount of time. It's organizing that time. It's being focused on that time. Again, at school, and in your private life. So number one is prioritizing the time, alarms, reminders, all of those types of things and then me, Todd, and again, I know you have younger kids, getting that morning time. One of the things I'm going to talk about in the master class is focusing on the morning time before school and then right when you get to school. I read the book called The Miracle Morning, as well as the 5 a.m. Club. Those two books really transformed me. They changed me. And real quick, in The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, he talks about savers, 6 things in the morning. Savers is an acronym, friends. Silence, affirmation, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing. You do those 6 things every day. School days and on your own time, your weekend time, days off, you do those 6 things every day. You're going to put yourself in a good position because it's not finding time to write that blog. It's not finding time to make that school presentation that you have to do. It's focusing on it and then creating the time to do it. So certainly number one is time. And the second thing I would say, Todd, is what are you doing in that time, right? As a school leader, as an educator, you got to make the important thing the important thing. This, and if you're listening to this, I'm pretending to scroll on my phone. It's a time sucker. At school, we want to converse. We want to build relationships with our colleagues and partners. But you also got time suckers in there when you got to go do an observation. And this guy's talking about this and dot, 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 dot. Hey, Mike, I want to hear about that, but can you walk with me? I'm on my way to be in the cafeteria because that's where I need to be, right? What are you doing with that time? So setting up systems to protect the time and then focusing on the important things within that time.
And I love that you brought up this idea of time because I don't know if it was in a PD or somewhere that I heard a phrase that completely changed my mindset. And the presenter just said, I want you to never use the phrase, I don't have time for that. He said, because that is a untrue phrase. He said, instead, I want to train your brain to think about this in a way of, it's not that you don't have time, it's that there are other things in your life that you've made more important, and that's what you're putting the time into. And he said, so whenever you want to say, I don't have time, instead say, you know what? There are other things I've placed with more importance, and that's what's taking up my time. And he said, and when you start to do that, then your brain starts to go, is this more important? Should this be taking up my time? Instead of right away, I don't have time. Like I'm so overwhelmed that I don't have time. It's no. What am I prioritizing in my time? Because what you said about that savers, I could see people right now listening going, I don't have time for that. Like that means I have to get up earlier. Or that means I have to change this. And it's not that you don't have time. It's that you've placed other things more important in your time, which isn't a bad thing if those other things are more important to you. And so I love that you brought that up. And it's all about our mind shift change. Because we have time, what we make time for. Yeah. And so that's so important. And so what are some other strategies as you've worked with people from across the United States? You're doing this work all the time. You're meeting people everywhere you go. And I know you have heard countless excuses when you try to bring up ideas over, oh, Andrew, nope, that wouldn't work for me. Oh, Andrew, nope, but my school's like this. But my leadership is like this. When you start hearing all those excuses, what are some things, some commonalities that you're like, oh, I've already got a solution for that, or I've got an idea for that? Share that a little bit with me.
Yeah. Well, and I want to build on Todd real quick before I jump into that. Again, talking about the time, you saying, well, something's more important. Well, also, a lot of times we say, I don't feel like it. I don't feel like working out. I don't feel like writing that lesson plan. I don't feel like it. Well, you can act differently than you feel.
Yep.
I'll say that again. You can act differently than you feel. Well, people say, well, Andrew, that's faking. Or Andrew, is it really? Because if you continue to act a certain way, you become the way you act. So if you want to be more energized and you have to kind of say, well, I got to act energized. I got to get psyched up. You keep doing that, you're going to be an energized person. So it goes back to that about what's important in that time. And then again, acting differently than you feel. So I wanted to add that with you.
And it's about rewiring your brain too, retraining those things that we've made excuses or the things that we began to believe. You hit the nail on the head. It's just about us. It's not faking it. It's rewiring the way we've done things to make it match what we really want.
Yeah. Back to the other question you asked about those strategies. As a school leader, right? Again, we're talking about time. I want to protect my teachers' time, things like that. Another thing is, the content. What is the content that we have taking in? What is the information I'm pushing out to my teachers? What are our curriculum? What do our programs look like? I know at the TEPSA conference, you're going to have a number of terrific programming. That's the content coming in. We as educators, again, we have a choice of the content that we absorb outside of school, but then in school, I'm very cognizant, very careful and focused on the content that I'm presenting to my teachers. Emails, what's in there? Does it just say, good morning, please read the following memo? Or am I offering and modeling some sort of positive thing there, a story, something to open that email where there's a positive. We're on a video podcast right now. I love short videos, Todd. I think when we can get our teachers short little videos that inspires them, but that they can then turn around and use in their classrooms, right? They feel good. Now I'm going to turn around and use that. You're in charge of the culture. Your title involves culture, and that all of those things affect our culture. They affect us. So if we're talking about strategies to thrive and survive, I think it's all of these little things that continue to compound into greater things. To tell a quick story, I find inspiration in a lot of avenues, books, blogs. I also like movies. I'm not a big Marvel, the world is ending, let me save the world type movie, but inspirational movies, stories of people. I watched the Bob Marley movie, One Love. Mm-hmm. And they go into it. Have you seen it, Todd?
I have not, but I've heard about it. It's on my list.
Yeah, and we all love, the Three Little Birds. We all love it. I recommend it. It's a great story of Bob Marley, Jamaica. But he's writing Redemption Song, one of his most popular songs. We all can sing along to it. And his wife walks in and hears him playing Redemption Song. He's strumming it, he's singing it. And she says, Bob, that's beautiful, Bob. When did you write that? And his answer was, and he pauses, right? You take it in. What's he going to say? He says, my whole life. My whole life. These things we're going through now, Todd, with our own families, our schools, we compound positive. And if you continue to build positive, you continue to take content in that is positively building, good things are going to happen to you personally, as well as your district. So just a couple things there about, strategies about building positive culture, that kind of stuff.
I love that. And I can't wait to hear this in like a 2.5 hour session for our masterclass, because I know we'll have time to really dive into these things, to create these systems and strategies right there on the spot. So I'm really excited to be able to have you there. Now, if people are listening this today and they're like, oh, I want to connect more with Andrew. Like, I want to read his books. I want to see what he's putting out on social media. I want to bring him to my people, whatever they're thinking. How can they connect with you, Andrew?
Yeah, thanks, Todd. AndrewMarotta.com is my website, Todd. And the blog is called Education, Leadership, and Beyond. I do a podcast and I also do a blog, both weekly. The blog is going to come out tomorrow. Todd, I was a little late for our podcast today. I had 12 teenagers sleep over last night. Tomorrow's blog. So if you're listening to this later, I know this is going to come out later. It would be February 18th. The blog is 11 Girls is the name of it. 11 Girls. There's only 11 players on a soccer team, Todd. And my daughter's soccer team for her 8th grade year team this year only had 11 girls. right? So all the parents are sitting there saying, wow, this is going to be a disaster. These kids are going to get sick. This one's not going to show up. The season's going to be a disaster. That's what we're thinking in August and September. Well, what happened, Todd, the team was great. They all rallied around. They all showed up. The girls had extra focus, extra attention on making sure they showed up, taking care of their health, because they knew they couldn't miss because they'd be down a girl. And that's tomorrow's blog. I know I got off your question there, but so those are the real life experiences that I like to share in writing, in stories. And people say, well, how is that a strategy for school? The strategy is you need to show up and be your best self for your school district, even when you don't feel like it.
Yep. I love that. Andrew, this conversation has been so great. I love checking out your blog, so I definitely recommend anybody listening or watching today to go check that out. And if you're coming to TEPSA Summer Conference, it's not too late to add Andrew's masterclass onto your registration. You are not going to want to miss this opportunity to organize your life and thrive as a school leader as you put those systems and strategies into place. Thank you, everybody, for listening or joining another TEPSA Talk podcast, and we'll see you next week with another all